I wear this bracelet, and I've seen some of you kind of squinting to see what it is. It was made out of a parachute cord by a member of the 82nd Airborne Army Ranger. And as you've heard me talk about my love for the military, I've had a privilege and an honor to conduct and organize 8 different military tribute tours downrange to fire up our troops in the combat zones. My first military tribute tour was in 2005, where I had an opportunity to go for 16 days, where I spoke 23 times on 12 bases, and out on the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier over 30,000 of our bravest men and women. Talk about one moment in time changing us forever. That experience interacting with our troops has changed me forever, and I love our troops. While I was in Bagram, Afghanistan, as I said, a member of the 82nd Airborne Army Ranger, after my presentation and spending a couple of days on base interacting with the troops, out of the goodness of his heart and through his talent, he made this parachute cord for me out of his, he made this bracelet for me out of his parachute cord. And when you look closely, there's a jump medal, there's a miniature American flag, and there's a combat insignia coming in contact with the enemy stories for another day. I've never taken this bracelet off. Since 2005, I have not taken it off. Cool that it's made out of a parachute cord because when I come out of the shower, it immediately dries. I still love to surf. When I come out of the ocean, it immediately dries. Why do I wear it constantly, continuously? It's a symbol that reminds me that it's not enough for us to just practice what we preach. We must preach only what we practice, which means as a public figure, I can't just buy one of those magnetic bows that says support the troops and stick it on the side of my vehicle and feel like I'm doing my civic duty. Can you? So I better take my commitment to our troops and to their families to a next level, to a highest level. So many years ago, I made a commitment that every single time I saw a soldier, a Marine, an airman, or a sailor in an airport, I would buy him or her a meal. What a drag. No one ever told me they don't hang out all by themselves. They're always in groups of 3, 5. When they hear it's free food, I hear a whistle in the men's room. And all of a sudden, 9 guys out the door running in formation. Hey, free Nathan's dogs, D5. Well, obviously, when we start talking about character development, you can't just click it on and click it off. You've heard me say many times that the definition of sales is the transference of trust, which means I better be the same off stage as I am on stage or I have no credibility. You better be the same on stage as you are off stage, at work and off work, in the park, in the grocery store, volunteering as a coach for your kids. That's what it's all about. Which means when I go to an airport, the reason why I go to an airport is to actually board a plane. Duh. So I better keep that same high level of commitment to our troops alive and well once I'm on the aircraft. Don't you agree? I'm fortunate enough to fly Delta Airlines. With all due respect to the other airlines, it's the finest airline on our planet. And I'm fortunate enough to fly first class, and as a big guy, that's wonderful. I always get a window seat. No one bothers me. I don't bother them. It's where I've written a lot of my songs, a lot of my books on the road. Not because I'm snooty. It's because I love that quiet time, especially when I'm flying cross country. So this one particular day, I boarded the Delta Airlines jet. I'm sitting in first class. I'm sitting in my window seat. The flight attendants have now served my beverage, and now you've seen it as I have. As the rest of the passengers start boarding the plane, there's always at least one passenger dragging that 411-pound carry-on bag that's holding up the rest of the passengers from boarding. And if you're curious like me, if you look closely, you can usually find 2 air holes drilled in the top of the suitcase. Because Aunt Shirley's stuck inside, they refuse to splurge for an extra ticket. Stop moving, shut up, we're going to get arrested. And they're dragging her down the aisle. And sure enough, it takes them about 45 minutes to push her into that upper overhead space that doesn't fit anything. And now the rest of the passengers are stopped in the aisle. I'm sitting in my window seat, first class, look to the left, and they're stopped in the aisle. On my row is a soldier in full uniform. So I chat him up. How you doing? He said, I'm fine, sir. I said, are you coming or going? He said, I'm just coming back from the desert, sir. They're always so polite. I said, where have you been? He said, I've been in Baghdad for 15 months, sir. I said, I bet you're excited to see your family. He gets emotional and he says, yeah, I sure hope they're excited to see me. I said, guaranteed, bro. Welcome home. I said, I want you to swap seats with me. He goes, oh, no, sir, that's not necessary. I said, what do you mean it's not necessary? It's the least I can do. He said, oh, no, that's not necessary, sir. I need to go back with my fellow troops. The flight attendant overhears me. Mr. Clark, that's so nice of you. I said, it's not so nice of me. It's the least we can do. I said, I want you to sit in my seat, soldier, and I want you to give him everything he wants. You take good care of him. Give me your seat assignment. I'm going to the back of the plane to sit in your seat. I go to the back of the plane, and I'm looking for a seat. And wouldn't you know it, he's sitting in the center seat between two chubby guys. Now I'm big. I've lost 41 pounds since I got through playing football, but I'm still 6'5" and tip the scales at about 235, 240. So I show up and these two guys are looking up at me like, oh no. I'm looking back at them like double no, excuse me. I sit down between them. Oh no. Let me interrupt. That's what's going to happen to you the second you leave this meeting today. That's what's going to happen to all of us once this conference is over and we have to enter the real world of minimum requirement mediocrity. What's going to happen is we're going to finally realize that it's not as chipper and as positive as we've made it for the last few days together. Our relationships haven't changed. Most likely the economy and the interest rates haven't changed. And all the challenges that have been bombarding us for years have not changed. So what do we do as human beings? As we take that path of least resistance, we default. I'm so old I bend over to pull up my socks and I think, what else can I accomplish while I'm way down here? I go to bed healthy. I'm starting to remember I go to bed healthy and I wake up injured. And all I did was lay there. Is that starting to happen to some of you? Oh my gosh, we wake up, our hips asleep, our foot hurts. I'm like, hey, what's going on around here? I'm starting to stretch out in case something happens at 2 a.m. And yet now we get really self-conscious. So many of you have perfect hair. Your CEO has perfect hair. It has not moved since 1977. And I'm sensitive. I'm losing my hair right here. And I'm growing it in places I don't even need it. That's not a fair trade-off. My only hope is that the hair in my right ear will grow long enough I can comb it up over the top of my head and fake all of you out. Yeah, we default to that path of least resistance and start feeling sorry for ourselves, don't we? What allowed me to sit up and stop treating these two human beings as objects in my way and start acknowledging them as fellow human beings, same God who made you, made me too? It was the memory of being downtown Baghdad when it was 141 degrees Fahrenheit. And on top of that, our soldiers, our Marines, our sailors, our airmen are wearing 85 pounds to 125 pounds of combat gear, running towards the sound of the guns, with the bad guys trying to pick them off to keep them from returning home safely to their families while we're at the mall. There's something wrong about that, ladies and gentlemen. And as you've heard me say on different occasions, in the military, we give medals to those who are willing to sacrifice themselves so that others may live. And in the business world, the selfish, self-centered business world, pursuing making a living instead of making a difference, we give bonuses to those who are willing to sacrifice others so that they may survive. We've got it wrong. The story continues. About 4 minutes later, I look up and the guy who was sitting next to me in first class comes wandering to the back of the plane. We get eye contact. I said, what's up? He said, you made us all feel guilty. I said, what happened? He said, the next soldier who got on board the plane, I gave him my seat. I said, hallelujah, let me help you find yours. And wouldn't you know it, he's sitting in the row right in front of me in the center seat between two chubbier guys. He's so stuck he can't even turn around and keep complaining. And by the time we took off, 4 guys who had been sitting in first class were now sitting in the back of the plane where we should have been all along to pay tribute to these military heroes who are willing to give it all if necessary so that we may live, so that we have the right and the freedom to gather here today and talk about the things that matter most, which are the things that last the longest, which are relationships, family, and making a difference, leaving that legacy so that everybody leaves us saying, I like me best. When I'm with you, I want to see you again. And yes, the story continues. That night I checked into my hotel room, and you'll know what I'm going to say. I had a really good night's sleep. Isn't it interesting when we focus in on the 3 core values of the United States Air Force? Integrity, service before self, and a commitment to excellence in all we do. It illuminates what we're really about and elevates our purpose of life. It actually transforms our lives by transforming our attitude and our behavior from successful to significance. Again, beginning by being aware of the moment, aware of the situation when we really can be significant. I woke up the next morning, refreshed, great night's sleep, knowing that I'd done something for someone else when I wouldn't get the credit. And I wake up and I shower, I shave, I do the routine, I show up to the ballroom. And wouldn't you know it, 5,000 folks in a national convention. And the guy who introduces me is the guy I was sitting next to in first class, the CEO of this company. And we had not had a chance to get acquainted before the plane fiasco. And after he showed my video introduction by Larry King, he made that introduction so intimate because he shared with his team, with his company, that 4 of us in first class had inspired one another to do what we could in the moment because we were aware of what we could at the moment do with what we had at the moment to pay tribute to our American fighting soldiers. Moral of the story, people are watching. And we must also understand that as they're watching us, we need to be watching out for opportunities to become more significant and literally take our success, getting what we want, to that highest level of significantly wanting what we get so we don't die with our music still in us.